Hello, my name is Alan, and today I am facilitating the final of three, as it turns out. We lost one to kind of illness and other events. So the final of three sessions of AGON by Sean Nittner and John Harper. I've reskinned this for play away from the original Greek Odyssey setting to the Celtic Otherworld. So we have a variety of heroes traveling through the Celtic Otherworld of the Dark Ages, trying to influence what's going to happen in the mortal realms with their legends. This game is organized as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly events gaming calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, then please look at the first session or one of the early sessions of any of the series of games I run for the Gauntlet, and you'll find all the details there. But I would encourage you to look us up. But I am going to mention that we have GauntletCon in our free access online con. We run that annually, we're modeling it on the open gaming weekends that we've been running this year to encourage people to take, to dip their toes into online gaming. And you will find that if you go to the Gauntlet website, Gauntlet-RPG, you will find a link to that. Games go live, I think, for kind of booking a seat, and you don't have to have any connection with the Gauntlet to do that. I think they go live, I think it's about midday-ish Eastern. I know it's 5 p.m. In the UK on the 1st of October. And it's the weekend itself is, I think, starts on Thursday the 14th of October, I want to say, but it's that weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, depending on which time zone you're in, because we're playing around the time zones. So, if you want to dip your toes in the Gauntlet, that would be a great place to do it for free and nothing. And we look forward to seeing you there. So, with all that in mind, I'll remind the players that we are working with safety tools. We're using lines and veils and the X card. All of these players have played with me before, so we understand what all of that means. I'm not going to waste time talking about it now. Instead, I'm going to go straight on to looking at the character keeper and saying, shall we go reverse character keeper order just for fun? And ask you to introduce yourself and tell us something about the character you're playing. So, to formally do it, my name is Alan. I use the he, him pronouns. And let me ask Alexi to say hello and tell us something about Aethelflaed, lion-hearted.
Hello. Yes, I'm Alexi, he, him. You can follow all of my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. I am playing for this series of AGON, the Celtic Otherworld, Aethelflaed, lion-hearted. She is the daughter of a minor Anglo-Saxon king. She's out here looking to prove herself. Her patron god is Brigid, though her parents differ on whether Brigid is a goddess or a saint, and she's still sorting that out for herself. And she's got piercing eyes, dyed hair, decorated armor, a sling and a sword, and as of last session, a captive worm.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the captive worm. Moving along. Sawyer, say hello and tell us something about Vecinda Man-Tamer.
Hello, I am Sawyer, aka Ferret. You can find out I'm trying to get at least 2 new Monster Heart skins out for the rest of the year every month. So find me at Ferretheim Games on Twitter. I use any pronouns. You literally can't misgender me unless you're being a jerk. Don't be a jerk. And I am playing Vecinda Man-Tamer. She is the epitome of the mother who didn't want her son to go off to battle, so she went off to battle for them. And she is trying to bring peace and reason to this God's non-forsaken world, which seems to be very hard to do.
Yeah, the last session was tough. The fates were not playing fair last time. Sabine, say hello and tell us about Iamon, Prince of Elmet.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns. I am playing Iamon, who recently took on the title of Prince of Elmet. He has this title because he married the Queen of Elmet when she was still a princess. He did not intend to become a prince. But things have shaken out that way. So he used to be just a wandering monster hunter, basically, and he still kind of feels that, yeah, that is who he really is, like this prince stuff. That yeah, he's doing that, and he can obviously, but yeah, well.
Enough said. And Will, say hello and tell us about Blacwyn.
Hi, I'm Will. I have a dodgy left click button on my laptop, so apologies if I look frustrated at any points during this game. And otherwise, I'm playing Blacwyn, pronouns he, him, who is Blacwyn the Silver-Handed, granted a replacement hand by Senunus, the Celtic god. And so far, his main approach is, fighting his way through everything. But last session, we were driven from the battlefield by the mighty storms wielded by our enemy. And so now he is Blacwyn the Silver-Handed and bears the storm scars.
That's great. And I will say, if any of you want all the backstory around Iamon and Blacwyn, you will find it in the Jotunweird playlist on my YouTube channel. So let us then deal with the journey. This is the journey from where you were last time to where you will be this time. So again, like most John Harper games, this is very structured. So let us begin with Fellowship, and I will read from the rules. The heroes relax and enjoy each other's company. Taking turns, each hero asks one question of another hero. That player answers, then both heroes take a bond with one another. And then we go on round until everyone has asked and everyone has been asked a question. So let me carry on with that order then and say to Aethelflaed, who do you want to ask a question of around the campfire?
Yeah, I think she'll turn to Vecinda, though she's kind of glancing sidelong over at Blacwyn as she asks this, but she's going to ask Vecinda. Vecinda, you've experienced more battles than I believe. How do you recover from a stinging and punishing defeat like this?
Defeat is going to happen to anyone who faces and fights in battle. You cannot win every time. To imagine that to not be prepared for defeat is not being prepared for battle. To be truly prepared for battle, one must be prepared to win, one must be prepared to lose, and be okay with both of those outcomes.
A tall order, though.
A tall order, but one that is sadly quite right.
Yeah, Aethelflaed takes that in.
And each of you gains a bond with one another. And then we come to Vecinda next. Vecinda, who do you want to ask a question of? I think you asked a question last time of Iamon, and I think it may well have prompted a change of epithet, but I'm not certain about that.
Yeah, I think this time I will ask a question of Blacwyn, and Vecinda will, I guess, like sidle up next to him, like applying some salves or something to some wounds, and ask, is there anything you wouldn't fight for? Or
another man's greed.
Ooh. But so many wars and so many battles are fought for greed.
Aye. But at the hard end of things, there's killing and dying to be done. And you don't fight for the man above the person's greed, you fight for the man beside you. And for the people behind you. And he spits on the ground and he says, the only reason I'll fight for the gods is because they give me no choice.
Each of you gains a bond, and I think that's rather a telling one, because of course the only reason these heroes are here is they've been drawn from the mortal realms chosen by the gods to make some, to influence events in the other world for reasons that we do not know. We might discover, I don't know. So very telling from Blacwyn there. Okay, moving along to Iamon. Iamon, who do you wish to ask a question of?
I think I would like to ask a question of Vecinda. So after she's done with addressing Blackwyn's wounds, he will step up to her or sit next to her and say, hey, I know why I'm here, and I guess I know why Blackwyn's here. What is it you hope that we will achieve during this journey? What do you think might be ideal? What would you, if you go home, what would you like to have achieved here?
I wished in my life to be a pacifist, not a peacekeeper. I did not get my wish. I wish to fight so that my children don't have to fight, so that my grandchildren don't see war, so that everyone that I care about does not have to go through the same things I had to get them where they are.
That's a worthy goal.
Hopefully after this, home.
Wish you peace, then.
Time will tell. Each of you has a bond with the other. And finally, Blacwyn, who do you ask a question of?
I think I have to ask one of Iamon, having with that change of epithet. I think I have to ask a question related to his the princedom, and I will ask. Is the princess pregnant? I can't. Yeah, she is, isn't she? The queen's pregnant. I'm going to say. What will you name your boy or your girl, Iamon?
Well, I haven't thought about that, actually.
Aedwin's a beautiful name.
It's a girl.
Yes.
And if I can convince my wife, because she will have to say, she will have ideas about this, I'm sure.
A good woman, a strong one. One woman to walk the mountains with.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, I talked to her.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're finally taking your responsibility seriously, Iamon.
I did not expect to be a prince. You know that.
It's the life you chose when you married a princess.
Well, that I chose more with my heart than with my head, I think.
And he slaps Iamon on the back and says, as it should be. I'll make sure you get home, lad.
Thank you.
Brave words indeed from Blacwyn. Please take a bond with one another. And I'll remind you that that in the bond section of the Keeper, there is a little note that tells you what you use those bonds for. So let's move on. In the game as written, the next part of the game is called the sacrifice to the gods. We're interpreting it more as a celebration of the gods. And we talk first to the hero with the greatest glory, which I think is Iamon. Iamon has 80 glory currently. And so it is Iamon who leads the celebration to the gods to seek guidance and favor in your next trials. What form does this celebration take, Iamon? And which god do you particularly wish to celebrate?
Before I answer this, does our pathos reset at the start?
Oh, sorry.
Of this?
Yes, it does. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, pathos does. Fate doesn't. So if you have agony and fate marked, that stays in place. But yes, indeed, pathos clears. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah, no, it's rather relevant.
This would be a very tough game if that did not reset.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So what I am doing is I'm saying, look, gods, you brought us here to fight your challenges. I think we've seen last time that you mean to test us, and mean to test us hard. Arianrod, my grandmother said you would protect me and mine. So I ask you, to protect me and mine. For this, I will give that to you, which I know gods crave. I've learned this from my Sinius. And then I will slice a little part of my arm, not where it would cripple me, but give blood to her, because I know that that is what gods love. And last time, a poem didn't, or a story didn't seem to do the trick.
A blood sacrifice to Arianrod.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will mark one pathos just for the wound.
No. This is
No.
entirely narrative in this game. That's just that's narrative
Okay.
joy. That doesn't require pathos. So to resolve whether Arianrod and the gods are receptive to this offering, each character will now have a contest in resolve and spirit, and I've just rolled, and the strife is a mere 3. So let's start with Iamon. You are Iamon, Prince of Elmet. I think both of those are relevant to this. So you start with 2d8s, and it's resolve and spirit. Where else do you want to go?
I think I will just mark one pathos and drag in Arts Adoration, because, yeah, well, you know, or maybe Blood and Valor. Blood and Valor seems more relevant, because it's blood that I give.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So I think that is 2d8, a d6, and a d10.
2d8, a d6, and a d10. I'm dragging them over here because I need to see this. Then I'm rolling them. I need to beat a 3, right?
You do. With the top
there's
2.
It still says strive +5, though.
No, you don't. Not for the sacrifice. It is just the top of the 2d6 I rolled.
I think with a 16, I kind of managed that.
Arianrod is clearly impressed with your blood offering. Moving along, Vecinda, how do you celebrate Arianrod?
I think Arianrod is likes precision, likes detail, likes all this, and I will. I think have carved some kind of statue after having seen the statue I got last time, and offer up a wonderful piece of art to the gods.
So that you're still, that would give you an option to involve craft and reason, I guess, as well as resolve and spirit if you wanted to.
I think I will.
So spend a pathos for that extra domain.
And I think is it just going to be Vecinda, craft and reason, and resolve and spirit?
I think so. I think Man-Tamer feels a bit out of it there, unless you can make a case to me.
I do not think I can. So let's roll these and see what happens. Oh, that is a 6.
That's enough.
Yeah.
That you prevail in gaining Arianrod's favour. Aethelflaed, how do you approach this celebration of Arianrod?
Yeah, I think I see, Iamon has given up, blood for the goddess, and not to be outdone. I'm going to take my sword and just cut my elaborately braided and dyed hair to make another sort of bodily sacrifice here, and perhaps I can braid that together into some moon symbol and lay it on an appropriate flat stone as an offering.
That's cool. So lion-hearted, I don't know. What do you think?
Not obvious to me, but I'll mark a pathos to bring in arts and narration as well as resolve and spirit for the braiding.
Okay, so I think that's 2d8 and a d6.
All right. Let me grab these guys. As always, I will not look for the first couple seconds so that they can resolve whatever it is they're going to do. That's a 13.
Which is you prevail. And finally, Blacwyn. How do we see Blacwyn celebrate Arianrod?
I think members of the warband talk about how Arianrod is the god of precision. So how would you, like they don't have the aim and the skill of Eamon's bow and arrow and such to honor them. And Blacwyn says that there is more to, precision in combat than hitting, than the art of the bow. And he offers them I'm trying to remember, like a sparring thing, and I've lost the word entirely.
But,
some
sparring
kind
match?
of trial of arms, yeah.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And he's going to just with one strike, take on each of them with one strike. And thingy. So Blacwyn, the Silver-Handed, because it's punching people, is going to do this. That's a D6. I'm going to bring in Pathos for Blood and Valor as well. So that's 2D6. Sorry, let me just drag these over because they've all got a bit moved around. 2D6, a D10 for my. It's a D10. Yeah, I got it there. And then. Is that it? D6, D8, D10.
D6, D8, D10 for Blood and Valor.
Oh, and
you were
another
spending Pathos for
blood and Valor, because it's Reason and Spirit, isn't it? Is a D6.
It
and
is.
Blood and Valor is D10. So yeah, I've got it now. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta move. There we go. 2D6, D8, D10. There we go. Everything is just spinning around on my screen, and then it's all come back exactly the same as it was before.
You want to try those again? Because I don't think that rolled.
No, I don't either. There we go. That's a 16.
Oh, 16. So we're not using the what total was it. There's just too much record keeping in that. So both Blacwyn and Iamon prevail most successfully. So you will get a whole 3 glory each. While Vecinda and Aethelflaed will get 2 glory, half the glory each. Then there is the question of what happens next. Well, I think, let me ask Vecinda. Vecinda, because I've described these shooting stars giving you a heading in this misty other world where it's difficult to see very far. What worries you as you walk into the mist, Vecinda?
I'm worried that we'll end up in a no-win situation, I guess. And
that is, I think, something that the warband is beginning to talk about. You've heard them talking about this. One saying to another, are we going to wander the other world forever? Is the fact that we seemed to fail last time, that things got worse after we left the Mountains of Belief? Are we just playthings of the gods? And that is the challenge that each of you has an opportunity to address, I guess. So let me go to Aethelflaed. How do you address the uncertainty and the kind of lapse in morale that the warband is experiencing?
Yeah, I think I need to encourage them by reminding them of the trophies we have received from our adventure. So I'm going to invite the boldest of the warband to take a turn, riding behind me on my Wyrm thunder scale that I seized in our last encounter, and obviously the Wyrm will snap at anyone who approaches, but I'm like, he's just playing, don't worry. And I help anyone who has the heart for it to cling to the Wyrm's tail, right, and take a brief flight.
The challenge for this morale lapse is 6.
All right.
So, what do you see this in terms of Aethelflaed Lionheart?
Oh, I think lionheartedness plays in here. Is this a particular domain, or we kind of define the domain ourselves?
That's for you to determine around the narrative you've given
Yeah.
me. I mean, it sounds like blood and valor to take somebody up. I have to tell you.
That
but
sounds good to me. Yeah, Aethelflaed, Lionhearted, will use blood and valor, oh, should we have marked divine favor again after our?
You should have marked divine favor, please. Yes, at the end of the celebration, each of you should have marked 2 divine favor. You see, with 4 sessions, I'd know the rules by now, but with 3, it's
No worries. I think I'll throw in the authority of Tyrannus then, because it takes a steady hand on the Wyrm to make sure everything goes well for the Wyrm and for the warband members who are giving this a go.
Absolutely, and the sky is, after all, the realm of the god of storms.
Yes. All right, so 2d6, d8, d4, I believe.
And you are taking the top 2 apart from the d4 and then just adding the d4 in.
All right, let's go with this. Have you resolved yourselves, dice? Cool. I have a 9 plus 4, a 13.
Oh, a consistency. That was what he got last time. Okay, moving round to Blacwyn. How do you bolster the morale of the warband during this trudge out of the mountains of belief?
And what is the one we have to beat? It's
6.
6. Okay, yeah, well, easy. Blacwyn, reminds them of the battles that they fought so far and the legend of Blacwyn Silver-Handed and the fights that, even though we lost the last one, we survived to fight the next one, and we can do whatever we need to. So Blacwyn the Silver-Handed, D6.
How is Silver-Handed relevant to that?
Because it's the legend that is sung about me as of Blacwyn the Silver-Handed.
Okay.
Yeah, which means I think I'm probably doing a arts narration.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah. D6.
So 2 d6 and a d8 so far.
Yep. And I will spend a pathos to bring in blood and valor, because why not? Which I think I'm doing by one of them panics and I slap him into senseless, slap him into thingy.
So cruel to be kind. Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I don't need the D. I'm sorry, I'm rolling a D4. I'm not going to roll a D4. I'm going to try and save my gods for when we need it. Oh, see, 15.
Okay, so that's 15 for Blacwyn. Iamon, how do you bolster the morale of the warband?
I mean, by now I imagine that I actually know who these people are and can address each to his or her own strengths. Like if I know somebody has a wife and child at home, I will tell him that we have to get through this if he wants to see his wife and child again, because that is the way, and we cannot lie down on the ground. And it's basically the same message that I'm telling to everybody. If somebody is starting to panic, I will talk them down. Somebody is start to like, this is boring, why do the gods test us so hard? And I'm telling them that they won't put challenges on us that we can't face. So I think I am Iamon, Prince of Elmet. I feel that's kind of relevant here.
Yes, I think the Prince of Elmet is a sign of some authority over them, yeah.
Yeah, and I will bolster their resolve and spirit. Like, bolster their backbone, basically.
Yeah, so that's a d10 and 2 d8s.
That's the d10, and I'll take these, you go back there. I mean, I could also drag in arts and narration just to mark a pathos. Huh.
We are in the last session.
Yeah,
what could
yeah, yeah.
happen to that fate track that would make
Exactly.
life so complicated at this late stage in the series?
Exactly. So I've got to beat a 6, right?
You have to beat a 6.
I have a 10, so.
Okay. And finally, Vecinda, it was you who spotted this issue in the morale of the warband. How do you now address it?
Kind of like Aemon, I think Vecinda has talked to these people, knows about them, and will start like just reminding them of the people they have at home, reminding them that like the gods have would not put upon people what they could not handle. That this has to be able to come to an end. That we will eventually get home and be regaled as heroes by our family, our friends, and our loved ones.
Well, that does, I think that is Man-Tamer in the broader sense. So Vecinda Man-Tamer, that sounded like appealing to common sense and reason.
Yes, and I think just to not tempt fate at all, I'll spend pathos and add resolve and spirit as I'm bolstering the resolve.
Fine. So I think I'm seeing 2d6, a d8, and a d10.
Yep. Okay, that is a 14.
Oh, so close. Blacwyn, you get 6 glory out of that. Everyone else did prevail and gets 3 glory.
Just snapping at Eamon's heels, like for this in the last session, just like 2, 1, 2, 1, 3.
I feel that you should win this because, I mean, you're clearly the more glorious warrior of the two of us.
Just a hammer in your hands, Iamon.
Blacwyn is indeed the hammer you need for every nail. So we dealt with the Vault of Heaven at the end of the last one. It seems to me more logical as at that end of the game. So these shooting stars continue to lead you out of the mountains of belief down into rolling hills. And though you can't see the vista as you cross the hills, they are dew-coated, rich green grass. And out of the mist emerges a settlement. Oh no, dreams, omen's importance. As you move down into the rolling hills that the mountains give way to, all of you have a dream. I think it is probably appropriate if it is Blacwyn who has a dream of Camulus, Lord of War. And you, Blacwyn, dream of a splintered shield. What is broken should be discarded and forgotten. Yeah? I think that probably it is Vecinda who dreams of Gwydion, lawmaster of the gods. His sign is the blank slab of stone. Without tools, knowledge is left unrecorded. And Iamon, Bridget, goddess of wisdom. Sorry, I've got that the wrong way around. It isn't Blacwyn, it is going to be Aethelflaed. It is going to be Aethelflaed who gets a dream from Bridget, goddess of wisdom. In your dream, Aethelflaed, you see fine stitches. But despite in your dream wanting to get far enough to see what the various different stitches would show if you were far enough away, you can't. What you see depends on how far away from it you are. And because Blacwyn won the leadership contest, I'm going to leave the interpretation to him.
We had the splintered shield, the fine stitches, and then the other one was...
I'll run round them again because I've just confused everyone now. Aethelflaed. Aethelflaed dreams of Bridget, the goddess of wisdom. These stitches too close to see what they are part of. What you see depends on how far from it you are. Gwydion, Lawmaster of the Gods, reveals himself to Vecinda. His sign is a blank slab of stone. Without tools, knowledge is left unrecorded. And Camulos, the Lord of War, appears to Iamon. His sign is the splintered shield. What is broken should be discarded and forgotten. My apologies. Blacwyn, you hear these dreams recounted, and what is it that your first impressions are of these?
That perhaps these people are holding on to something that can no longer help them, and will lose. Will over time. As the longer they hold to it, the less they will be able to stand against history and so forth. Obviously, the details will depend upon when we reach the settlement and find out exactly what the thing is. But yeah.
Vecinda, what did you make of what Gwydion revealed to you?
That without the proper usage of these symbols, we may end up ignorant and unconvinced of their meaning.
Okay. Iamon, what about Camulus's splintered shield? That which is broken should be discarded.
I will not discard Elmet. Camulus can go and play with his spear, his broken one.
And Aethelflaed, the reason I got these the wrong way around was because Bridget is your patron god. So I'm just curious what you make of Bridget showing you some tapestry that you can see the stitches of, but you can't see the detail of.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to get perspective, possibly an airborne one, to understand what's called for here.
We're going to keep coming back to that Wyrm, not unreasonably. So Blacwyn, having heard what they think of their own dreams, does that reinforce or change your view?
I think it reinforces, because Iamon is too close or too far away from Elmet to view any of these portents in any way, but affects himself. And the words of the others reinforced to me that we must, more may be lost in holding on to something rather than moving past it.
Okay, so let's see how that might play out or be interpreted as we move on. So the mists part, and there is a settlement. And as you are all too often used to now, there is discord at the heart of this settlement. Perhaps that is a message about the other world, that the discord is at its heart. The village is showing some level of disrepair. Though you have, as you've walked through these hills, you've passed through flocks of healthy looking sheep. When you arrive in the village is in disrepair. There are stacks of dirty fleece lying abandoned in the mud. There are half-shorn sheep wandering around the huts. And at the edge of the village is a stone slab showing, it looks like 3 women undertaking the stages of weaving. So one is spinning yarn, one is at a loom, one is cutting the cloth free of the loom. However, at the center of the village, a mob is throwing rotten fruit at an elderly man as they shout insults at him. There is clearly a leader of the mob, and she sees you approaching, and recognizing you as heroes, she She comes to you and says, I am Ludega. I am a herder like most of us here. But I think that you can make a judgment on him. He is a villain. And she points at the old man that they are surrounding, the mob is surrounding. He is Colivus, the knife grinder. He stole from the gods. Judge him, punish him, she says. Blacwyn, you are currently the leader of this band of heroes. What is your immediate reaction?
What did he steal? And why?
He stole the shears of the gods.
I look at the half-shorn sheep and I say, doesn't seem to be using them.
But the gods cannot use them. Now the cutter cannot free the cloth from the loom.
Pull out my, what's it called, the little dagger that all Saxons and stuff carry? I forget the name.
A seax.
The seax. I pull that out and I hand it to her and I say, cut it yourself.
This is but a knife, and she gestures to the knife at her waist. This is not the knife. This is the shears of the gods.
The shears of the gods.
Judge him, punish him.
I say no. Judge him for what? For stealing the shears of the gods and you being too lazy to lift your own? The gods do not shear your sheep, you do.
Vecinda, what do you make of this exchange? Or how do you seek to influence Blacwyn?
I see that with just this cry for punishment that it's like, is there no way to retrieve these shears, to make it so that this punishment is no longer required, or that he can pay penance instead of just punishment?
That's an interesting view of this. What about Aethelflaed? What do you make of this exchange so far?
I think we have to get a broader perspective. I think we have to ask this old man, for one, to explain himself. So I'll if it seems like the people in this group really look to this leader and she's looking to us, then I'll go ahead and approach and ask the old man, these people accuse you of terrible crimes. What do you have to say for yourself, friend?
Just before we get to that detail, let me go to Iamon and just ask Iamon to tell me what he thinks of this exchange.
I mean, stealing is not a good thing, but stealing from the gods, come on. If they want shears, they can just magic them up again. But maybe they can, I don't know. We as Aethelflaed is thinking, as stepping up to the old man, I think that's the right direction. Maybe I'll talk to the old women, because I feel that they're probably the ones who need the shears.
Okay, so what I'm sensing here are two approaches developing. There's Blacwyn, who's admonishing the woman, the Ludiga, who seems to be in charge, or at least leading this mob. And then I'm definitely hearing from Iamon and Aethelflaed, let's talk to the old man. Vecinda, where do you sit on that spectrum?
I think I'm on Blackwyn's side of admonishing.
Okay, so I think we have two contests developing here. I think we have Blacwyn and Vecinda admonishing Ludega, and we have Aethelflaed and Iamon seeking to interrogate, or at least find out something from this old man. So let's because Alexi's just stepped away for a moment. Let's go to Blacwyn and Vecinda then. So this is I think this is about, I think it's the strength of your just to our many viewers, this is the youngest member of the Gauntlet, to my knowledge, honorary member of the Gauntlet. I think this is admonishing, is really standing up to this immediate response of Ludega. So I see this as resolve and spirit as the nature of the contest.
Mhm.
So let me start with Vecinda. How do you mechanize that? Crudely put, what do we hear and see from you?
I think that why would he have taken these shears? What would he have gotten from them? And if he is to suffer as much as you are without these shears, without these benefits of the gods, what would drive a man to risk the wrath of the gods by stealing what is theirs?
To me, that sounded like, while resolve and spirit is the core of the contest, I think you were building in some logic and reason to that. So what I'm hearing so far, and he is a man, I think Man-Tamer absolutely applies here to get him to speak up. So Vecinda, Man-Tamer, resolve and spirit, craft and reason. I think there is 2 d6s, a d8 and a d10, unless you want to go somewhere else with it.
No, that is fine. And I'm trying to beat a what?
Oh, that's a very good question. I beg your pardon. I'm getting sloppy, or just not thinking. So I think that this is, let me think, he is that, and he's clearly slightly manic and almost, I don't want to say wild, but he's edging on wild. So he has a d6 for wild, and he is honor bound, a d10. So I'm rolling a d6 and a d10, which comes up, oh wow, as 4 plus a strife of 5 is a mere 9 is your target.
Okay. Let's see how I fail this time somehow. And, oh, no, that is that's a 13.
Okay, Blacwyn, how do you, we know that you are berating Ludega about this. So what are you trying to say here? Because we've had Vecinda, I think. Yeah, we've got Vecinda, we've got you. How are you going to admonish Ludega?
So she seems to be claiming that the state of this village is because the shears have been stolen from the gods and they're unable to do anything in the meantime, kind of stuff. Right?
That seems to be the gist of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that doesn't really wash with Blacwyn, who's like, do it yourself, basically. And so Blacwyn is, I don't believe my epithet really comes into handy here. It depends on how much I have in leeway of, like, if she reaches down to grab a piece of fruit and throw it at Colivus, I grab her hand with it.
I think we know that the silver hand is mostly about punching people.
Yeah.
Narratively.
I'm fine with that. I'm just seeing how far I can stretch things. So Blacwyn will do, I think it's a craft and reason, because I'm reasoning with her. I'm saying that you...
The base contest is resolve and spirit.
And resolve and spirit,
because you're standing up to, you're admonishing her. So that's your base. Well,
then I am going to spend a pathos for that minor scuffle as she pushes past me to thingy, and I just bodily stop. And I think someone lifts up a rock, and I just grab his hand and crush it downwards. And I am going to then throw in my D10.
Valor.
Yes, and I'm also going to throw in my authority from Taranis.
Fine. So I think that is a D6, a 2d6, a D10, and then the D4 bonus.
Yes. And the whole thing is you do what the gods, actually never mind authority, it's going to be ingenuity, because it's about, I'm appealing to that you need to be creative, the gods.
Okay.
The gods, we shouldn't wait for the gods, for Gafanan himself to craft your shears. You should make them yourself and use them.
Gods help those who help themselves.
Indeed, yes. And those who wait for the gods' help often die.
Okay.
And I roll terribly on that.
What's
Absolutely
the best?
terribly. The best combination is a 6 and with a 1 on the d4. So that is a terrible roll.
Oh, wow. So that is that you will suffer.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll worry about how in a moment. So, Vecinda, you win that challenge. You gain 9 glory. Blacwyn, you suffer. You gain a single point of glory. But let me just look at the consequences. So, how do you describe what happens to the crowd, Vecinda, when you prevail against their ringleader?
I think that like the people were like throwing stones, rotten fruit, and all that. And like they just sort of stop. They realize that they could have easily been them. That is who they're throwing all this terrible stuff at, and they just like begin dropping their fruit, and some of them even begin crying, realizing what they've done.
And Ludega looks at you rather sheepishly, and says, "But he robbed me of my victory. I rightfully bested Tontukas, and yet now he has intervened, and Tontukas has returned."
Oh, and who is Tontukas?
His lover. It was a fair contest, and I killed him because I am the one who provides the finest yarn to the gods. The fates weave with my yarn, given the choice.
Well, if you were not clever enough to see through his ploy, maybe you were not clever enough to seize victory from the way you have.
And as that exchange is going on, those of you observing it will see a ghostly strand appear out of the mist, and it weaves its way through the mist, and it loops itself around Ludega, and then loops itself around Vecinda. Vecinda, your fate and that of Ludega are now bound together. Let us now go to Iamon and Aethelflaed, who are trying to get, now that the crowd has calmed, it's much easier to have a conversation with Colivus, the old man who's cowering under this rain of rotten fruit.
I was meaning to talk to the old woman at who are weaving, to the weavers, not the old man.
Oh, sorry. There's nobody weaving right now.
Oh, okay. No, then I'm going to talk to the old man. That's
okay.
Fine.
Right.
There was an image of people weaving.
That's right. On the edge.
Maybe the fates themselves, as far as we can tell. Yeah, I want to approach this old man. I like if the rotten fruit has ceased to fly, I'll pull him up to his feet and brush the fruit off of him a little, and clap him on the shoulder, say, "You're safe for the moment. Tell us your side of this. We couldn't just let this mob have their way, but we're awfully curious to know why they were so upset with you."
And you promise they won't hurt me?
We promise no injustice will be done on our watch.
Iamon, what approach do you take? And then we'll determine, using a contest, exactly what he says.
Basically, I would like to ask him what was so special about these shears. I mean, why are they so upset about these? What makes them so sacred to the gods? They can't have only one pair of shears in this village, right?
Okay. I think that the difficulty for this one I've just rolled is 15. Getting him to spill is rather more difficult, Aethelflaed. So that sounded like you were kind of trying to talk him down. Was that resolve and spirit or arts and oration?
Let's go with arts and oration, but I'll mark a pathos to also have resolve and spirit, because I think I'm primarily using oratory, but perhaps as we are dealing with things of the gods, some spiritual fortitude is called for as well.
Because I think convincing him to spill is fundamentally arts and oration, because he's frightened, he needs to be talked down. So arts and oration is your starting point, and then lion-hearted,
I'm projecting confidence and telling him we'll
Okay,
see that
okay.
justice is done.
I think the fates will smile on you for that one. So that's a 2d6 plus arts and oration, which is d8. And where else do you want to go?
I've got one more. I'll mark a pathos to bring in resolve and spirit. As I am summoning up my spirits to deal with the holy things here, and I'll cash in a bond with. Oh dear, do I have a? I'll cash in a bond with Vecinda, because perhaps we can see from where we are that she has so successfully dealt with the mob, right? And this can hearten.
Does that work for Vecinda? That description, yeah, that's fine. So you can spend a bond in order to get Vecinda's d6 name dice.
Okay.
So I think you're at 3d6 and 2d8.
And what was the difficulty again?
The difficulty is 15.
Okay, great. Truly,
the fates are at work.
Yeah, I think I need some of the wisdom of Brigid here. So like there's a little like Brigid, whatever you are, saint or goddess, intervene for me now. So my wits don't fail me. So I'll pull in a d4, and I think the Wyrm. I think I'll keep the Wyrm in reserve. So let me give this a go. Yeah. All right, getting them ready, rolling them, not looking at them for a moment, and now I look at them. Ooh, the fates did not smile on me. That is a 10.
Oh, so you will suffer.
Yes.
Let's see if Iamon can, because this old man, he's looking at you as if saying, no, I'm not talking to you. Iamon?
I am a prince of Elmet. I know how to talk to people, right? Apparently, I'm good at that. And I think what I'm asking is arts and oration, and I'm marking a pathos to bring in resolve and spirit. And I will tell him that if he is truthful, then he will not have to fear mob justice here.
So that's a d6, 2 d8s, and a d10.
Yeah, and I think maybe a bit of authority could not go wrong here, because I really think we might want to make this roll.
Taranis is patron of princes.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a d10 here, and I have a d6 for the arts and oration stuff, right? And I don't think, maybe, I've got bonds with Vecinda. I could try to draw in her crafts and reason, right?
You can spend a bond in order to get her name dice.
Oh, her name dice. Okay. No, then I'll be okay. No, then I drag these over there so I won't get confused. Then I roll the rest of them, and then let's see.
What a big handful of dice that is.
Yeah, well, they just need to roll well. They don't. Oh, well, they do. Haha. I've got a 12 here and a 2. It's, oh, no. Damn, it's a 14.
Oh, truly, the fates are in some way influencing events. If no hero prevails, Colivus cries out, "If I wronged the gods, let me be judged by them." As he speaks the words, the heroes and Colivus disappear from the village. You reappear in an enormous cavern of simply gigantic, to the point where almost there are clouds at the top of the cavern, giving off some light. And there are strands running across the cavern from side to side, and 3 enormous spiders moving along these strands. And they look down and they speak in together. And so you have to imagine that I am 3 voices saying, "Mortals, why do you come to this, the, what should we call it? The Hall of the Fates.
Loom?
This is the Great Loom. And you can see that they are weaving these strands together into great rolling tapestries, but one of them is inactive. Tapestries are rolling away down the walls of this great cavern, and 4 of those tapestries are yours. Well, now, Aethelflaed and Iamon, you got us here with Colibus, who is absolute. He's just shrunken. I just can't believe that what he wished for has come to pass. So one of them is feeding yarn, one of them is busily weaving with all 8 legs, but one of them is just sitting there still. Iamon.
I'm looking at Colibus and saying, should have talked to us. And then I will turn to the Fates and say, we have come here for judgment because somebody took your shears and maybe you want them returned, I imagine.
And 2 of them speak together. The still one stays silent. But the 2 who are feeding yarn in and actually weaving it together, as yards of tapestry just spill away down the walls of this great cavern, the 2 who are still busy say, we cannot stop, we cannot stop. Fate cannot be stopped. We cannot discuss this, we cannot stop. Aethelflaed?
I'm looking around. What do I see on the tapestries of us?
You see the tale that has been woven since you entered the Otherworld, and just crumpling down at the bottom of these great wefts of tapestry, you can see your previous life. But visible up the wall are the events of the Otherworld. So you see your failure last time, or your success, perhaps, Aethelflaed, and the failure of the others. Let me go to Blacwyn. What are you making of this, Blacwyn?
I mean, why are we here? Fate has brought us here. We are but passengers upon the strings of fate, caught in the web that you weave, and so it must be the gods have brought us here for a reason.
You were brought here, say the 2 who are busy. No, the one who has been silent speaks up and says, you have been brought here because that mortal wished to be judged. And it is that mortal who has stolen my shears. Vecinda, what do we hear from you or see you doing?
If he is to be judged, can we see his fate? I would witness his tapestry to pass judgment.
So what I'm seeing on this is a job for Super Baby. What I'm seeing is Aethelflaed and Vecinda looking at your own fates and looking for the fate of Colibus. Blacwyn is making demands of the gods. Iamon is making demands of the fates. I should call them the fates, not the gods. So, am I right? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah, I suppose so, because I'm also going to make the point that they're not the gods; they're the fates. The gods
They are. I must be careful. Let me go to Aethelflaed and Vecinda first then. their Aethelflaed are your fates to date. Their Vecinda is Colivus's fate to date. Yeah. So Vecinda, you will see in Colivus's fate, you can see him taking the shears that he was to sharpen and throwing them into a cave. And the cave has an ornate title across the top of it, which is called the Cave of Lost Dreams. Yeah, so you can see the events. You can see his deep, deep love for this young shepherd, Tontukas. You can see Tontukas being killed by Ludega over who should provide the yarn or whose yarn is best. You can see Colivus wishing to get rid of the shears used to cut Tontukas's fate loose from the loom. Yeah? Aethelflaed, you can see all the events of the recent past that you and the other heroes have experienced. And you can see that some of the knots could be undone and redone. Okay?
That's interesting.
That is interesting. I thought you might find that interesting. Iamon and Blacwyn, are you trying to stop these three being busy, or are you trying? What is your objective here? I'm still not quite clear. Iamon?
I wanted to figure out where if they needed the shears back and if they knew where they were, so we could maybe return them and then things would simmer down a little bit.
And so the spider who has previously been still, while their sisters are busy continuing to produce from the stock of yarn, the one who has been still scurries down towards you, towers over you, and raises its head, and it has a human face. And it speaks and it says to you, without the shears, I cannot cut fate loose. I have no role, for I am the cutter.
Fair enough.
Good enough answer at this point?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that I figured that, but yeah, I would like to ask if she knows where the shears are.
That mortal, and she gestures at Colivus, who is wandering around this cavern, that mortal stole them when it was his role to sharpen them. And he threw them into the cave of dreams, of lost dreams, where all the unwoven possibilities are discarded.
Well, how do we get there?
I'll come back to that in a moment. Blacwyn, you seem to be... I wasn't quite certain what you were wanting.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. Up until that last exchange, I have no idea what's going on because I don't know the shears or the Corvinus through it or the whatever. So it's like trying to decipher this mythology and what the hell do I want out of it? Because right now I don't want to distract them. I'm fine with it. But what I wanted to clarify was Ludega killed Tontukas.
Yes.
Did Ludega kill him by cutting the strand of fate or by cutting his throat?
By actually beating his brains out with a stone, according to what Vecinda has seen in Colivus's fate.
Okay, and Tontukas threw that away because he was fated to die, I suppose.
So, just so I'm clear, Colivus and Tontukas are lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ludega kills Tontuka over an argument about who produces the best yarn for the fates. Colivus throws the shears into the cave of dreams, lost dreams, in order to stop the cutter cutting his lover Tontukas's fate free, i.e. killing him or making the death permanent.
Blacwyn will unflappably gaze up at this massive spider and say that, Colivus will take us to where we will bring your shears back.
Okay, so so Blacwyn is interested in being allowed to leave this cavern and go to the Cave of Lost Dreams.
Yeah, go to the Cave of Lost Dreams with Colivus, and I have this, that's my objective in this particular moment. My overall objective is to get those shears back and help Colivus restitch perhaps the strands of fate that have been taken by him from this Ludega, who I am going to kill if I get the opportunity.
Okay, so let me go back round then. Aethelflaed, as I say, some of these knots could be undone and redone.
Well, yeah. If that's the case, then while the others are speaking to the fates, I want to like try to subtly approach the tapestry and just move a stitch or two so that our time in belief, right, our time in this last place will not end in such abject failure. Perhaps with just a small alteration, the brigand queen might indeed be humbled, and as Vecinda had tried, be convinced to work with the people of belief rather than lord it over them. Okay.
John and Sean foresaw this as an option, so I'm happy to be able to tell you that pluck at the strands of fate. This is craft and reason, because it's about being sufficiently cunning, I think, to do this. And I will tell you the difficulty. Each of the fates is 2d12 mythic.
Yes.
And inscrutable, so you don't know where the weaver's looking while you try to do this. So I will tell you that the difficulty is going to be, oh my goodness me, oh, for a moment that was 3 ones, but it became a 7, a 5, that is 17.
Okay, 17 difficulty, great.
Now, that is the contest, that is the risk assessment.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to let you think about that for a moment. Vecinda, you've deciphered the events around Colivus. What do you want to do?
I believe Vecinda has what she believes is a clever plan, and the shears are here. You think they're in the Cave of Lost Dreams, but what lost dream is there than not having the life with the lover you want? Colivus has the shears upon him, for all the lost dreams weigh heavily on him.
I'd interpret that as seeking to unknot and reknot some of Colivus's fate so that he never threw them. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm doing.
That difficulty is also 17 because it is a contest to avoid the gaze of the weaver while you tinker with a mortal's fate.
Okay.
Yeah? So think about that one as well, Vecinda. Blacwyn, what are you, just pin this down to me, what is your objective, if any? Because you seem to want to find some stuff out and you've got a longer term objective. Is there anything you want to do now?
Right now, I want to, I just want to go and get those shears. I'm a very simple man, and I'm not a weaver or anything. It is just like, let's go get those shears and solve this.
So you need to convince the fates to release you or send you to the Cave of Lost Dreams.
Yeah, and with Colivus is going to show us. He's going to make what he did wrong right, basically.
Okay.
I would like to go with Blacwyn there.
Okay, so the two of you are going to engage with, I think, probably the cutter is the fate that you are involved with rather than the weaver. So again, this is 2d12 and a d8. I'll tell you what the difficulty is. That is 16 for Blacwyn and Iamon to convince the cutter to send you where you want to go. Yeah. Now I'm conscious we're at 20 past the hour, and I think that if we were going to have a commercial break, this would be the cliffhanger upon which we would have it. as Vecinda and Aethelflaed seek to tamper with the fate of mortals, and Blacwyn and Iamon attempt to be sent to the caverns of lost dreams. So it is 20 past the hour now. I'm going to suggest we're back here at past, have a decent break so we get a hot drink and do whatever else. So I will pause the recording now.
And with my next one, I will, in fact, level up my craft and reason to a D8. So I'll change one of those to a D8. 3. So Vecinda D6, Silver-Handed D8, D10 Blood and Valor, D8 Craft and Reason, D8 Resolve and Spirit. And since it's the last one, I will also bring in the Storm Scarred, where, you know, it's a reminder of the battles I've fought. And that's a
Battles lost, not to be lost again.
Yes, yeah, and that's a D12. Is that correct? Or
I think it's a D10.
D10, yes. No, D12 was a bond with a god, wasn't it? That was it. Yep. And since it's the last one, you know, it's daring. Why not? Let's just say. Because
all of this is daring.
Yeah. And for once, I'm not going to weasel in my raven feather cloak. That is a 17. So Vecinda still edges out on that one.
So Blacwyn, how this prevails, but it doesn't look like you're going to. So what are you?
I think it's a case of that those webs are being, you know, it's being pulled back, and it actually gets caught though in a thicket, you know, and Blacwyn stands forward and clears the path, tearing away like another knot of them somewhere else, you know, like it's sort of all interconnected.
Fine. Giving up perhaps his chance to grasp them. Aethelflaed.
Yeah, I think I put my fingers to my mouth and I whistle, and then I say, "Thunderscale, fetch!" And I call on my Wyrm to help, you know, wrangle these shears and, you know, take control over them to return them to the fates.
Let's see how that goes then.
Yeah.
That is certainly a lion-hearted thing to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Resolve and spirit is the base.
I am Aethelflaed, lion-hearted. I'll be rolling with resolve and spirit, and I will mark pathos to also bring in my blood and valor, as I rely on, you know, battle instincts to time the intervention of my my steed. And arts and oration, as I call I call for Thunderscale, you know, adding in, you know, his like list of you know, epithets for my Wyrm himself, so that he will understand that he's being called to great glory, and you know, and I think just a little craft and reason to understand the situation well enough to bring my Wyrm to bear at the correct time. I've hit another boon on my fate track, so I will advance my epithet die to a D8. So I'm taking out a D6 and adding in a D8, and I am of course invoking the D10 dice for Thunderscale. So that's another D10, and I am good. I'll burn a bond with Vecinda, because I am absolutely following up on her good work in luring out the shears by reeling them in. So let's see how and when I burn the bond with Vecinda, I get her name dice, which is a D6. Okay, cool. And I think that is literally all of the resources that I have. So let's see how this goes. A 20.
Will you look at that?
There you go.
Blacwyn. Sorry, Iamon. No, sorry, I'm losing track of where I am. I think that I've done Vecinda, Aethelflaed, Blacwyn. Am I left with Iamon?
Iamon, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think while all this is going on and everybody is looking and staring at the shears, what they may not have noticed is those tapestries that are reaching out. Like these strands of the tapestries, they are reaching out to us, to all of us. And I think, yeah, I mean, getting these tapestry strands that they want to be cut, or maybe they want to be avenged on the shears, who knows? But I think what Iamon does is he will start cutting off these strands that are reaching out for the shears. And I think for that he will find very quickly that his axe is not much avail, but this worm tooth he has will cut through them like hot butter. He saw this with Thunder Scale, and well, he has a worm tooth, so he can use it. So I am Iamon, I'm Prince of Elmet, and I will use Resolve and Spirit to defend my friends. And also, let me start with these. Go away. I'm putting them here, and Resolve and Spirit, and then I have the worm thingy. And I think, what do I think? I think I will, oh, come on. Let me also draw in Blood and Valor and Craft and Reason, because, you know, both of these, one of them is about fighting, the other is about knowing where to fight. That seems reasonable. And I get a boon, and that means that I can advance. To spend a divine favor, roll 2d6. Oh yes, I will take this one. When you spend divine favor, roll 2d4 and keep the highest.
Sorry, I've bent the rules a bit. You have to fill all the ones above the line before you can get the ones below the line.
Okay, fine. Then I'll advance one of the d6 to a d8. I think that's going to be I think that's going to be Craft and Reason, actually, because for whatever reason, I need another d8 now. And I think I will call in the divine favor of Gothanon for ingenuity, and why not the one with Arianrod as well. I've sacrificed for her, she can do me a favor now. And then I'll roll this massive amount of dice and hope to beat an 11. Yeah, I've rolled them. I think I have done that. Do I add both of those favor dice? Just one. Okay.
No, that was meant to be thumbs up to yes, you add both of them.
So that's
we've bent the rules a bit, but who's complaining?
That's the 20 as well.
Oh wow. So both.
I think that's fair if Aethelflaed takes the shears, because I was mostly getting the things away, the strands away.
I mean, I think together we are the most victorious.
Yeah.
Certainly you both get 11 glory. Blacwyn and Vecinda also prevailed and get 6 glory. And between them, Iamon and Aethelflaed grasp the shears. And at the point you grasp the shears, you blink back into the Hall of Looms, where strands of fate are holding Ludega and Colivus apart. And all three of the fates are now busily working. One of them snatches the shears from Aethelflaed and begins shearing off bits of tapestry, including, it must be said, that of Tontukas. So Tontukas, out with his sheep, newly revived from death, is going, sadly, to die. His fate is now resealed. Because none of you prevailed in the seas, but you did prevail in that finale. What the rules say is strife is beaten back, and fate is set on a path towards recovery, but it will not be easy. The conflict between Colivus and Ludega will continue in this island, in this place, but you are victorious. And the fates continue about their business. And that concludes our final exercise in altering the fate of the Otherworld. But we have, of course, I've just briefly described the destiny of this place. Each of you gets a great deed to take away. So let me go back the way in reverse again. Iamon, which deed or trophy will you take from this?
I mean, I have slashed the strands of fate. That's what led us to the shears. So I think I will. I think I will. Yeah, I slashed the strands of fate is pretty much. What would I slash, or is a bad word?
Well, did you bring a strand of fate with you?
No, I don't want nothing of this. I deny fate.
Okay.
Could you perhaps string your bow with the strand of fate, though? Would that not be a cool thing? If you don't want it, I just thought maybe that's very
yeah,
mythical.
it would be cool, but not for this one. Not for, I think Iamon is not like, no, he doesn't want that. He just wants to deny that fate has any power over him, or gods, or anything. And
okay.
that's pretty much, that's the denier of fate is, I feel that's kind of...
Fine, that works for me. Let's go to Aethelflaed. What deed or trophy will you take from fate?
Yeah, maybe the deed guided while blind for walking blindfolded through the caverns of dreams.
Okay, and then I can't remember which order this was in, but I'll go to Blacwyn.
This is a strange one because it was mostly entirely just destroying strands of fate rather than Blacwyn.
Or as I say, keeping strands of fate.
Yeah, you know what? Blacwyn will have kept the strand of fate. In fact, I think that woven around his silver hand is now a web of fate. You know, as I tore it apart, it adhered itself to the hand, and now you can see as you look in the reflections, fate's gone past and never fulfilled.
Find a neat phrase for that.
I will do. I'll think about that.
Vecinda, what deed or learning or trophy do you take away from this episode?
I think I will take the deed name Snarler of Fate.
Because you certainly snarled at that fate. Yes. Brilliant. So we all have a great deed. Now virtues. So let me run round each of you in turn then. I'm going to go now because I've lost track of order. So I'm going to start with Blacwyn and work my way through from there.
Okay, and I ask the people in character order, so I will go. Sabine, Iamon, what do you think Blacwyn was this time round?
Human, courage, grace, or passion?
I think... I think it's the courage, I'm sorry.
Fine. And Vecinda?
I think, again, I'm going to have to say passion, as you just passionately cut your way through fate every damn time.
Yeah. And Aethelflaed?
I will say grace, strangely enough, because I think Blacwyn just stayed the course during this adventure, and specifically was not lured away by delusive dreams within this cave, and that takes grace.
Cool, thank you.
Let me now go to Aethelflaed then. Ask your fellow heroes what they thought you displayed.
Sure. Blacwyn, what do you think?
I think you displayed, I think, grace, to be honest, with your trying to weave the web yourself at every turn, trying to control fate itself.
Sure. Iamon, what do you think?
I think so, courage, because, I mean, you just run into things, and we run into things blindfolded, and that takes a lot of courage. It's a cave!
We'll also say courage because you're the one who brought the attention of the fates to you first.
I did indeed, and served as a distraction for you.
And then Vecinda, ask your questions of your fellow heroes.
Blacwyn, what do you feel?
I feel passion because of your devotion to your comrades and defending them against fate's threats.
Iamon?
I'd say courage for going to Blackwyn's aid when your own fate was at stake. That takes some guts.
Okay, and Aethelflaed.
Ooh, yeah. I'll give you acumen because you demonstrated great skill, including in arcane arts with the small kind of effigy of Blackwyn that took his fate upon itself.
And then Iamon,
Oops.
ask your questions.
I'll start. I think I'll start with Vecinda and then come to that one last.
I think passion. You show that your current fate is more important than that of what you could have had.
Mm-hmm. And Aethelflaed, what do you think?
For Iamon, courage. You were, leaning on your kind of defiant side, not letting the fates define you here.
Fair enough. And Blackwyn.
Passion, the love of the princess and your kingdom is what drives you through this challenge.
It's true. Thank you.
Great. And then finally, on reflection, is there anyone who wants to rewrite their epithet?
I'm going to go with Man-Tamer.
Fine. Anybody else?
Yes, I think I'm going to go with Peacemaker.
Right. I get that. Okay, and that's really interesting because now we come to the final phase of a campaign of AGON, which is your legend. How will these events be told to generations to come? So, writing your hero's legend completes their name. While they were on their adventures, they were known by their epithet, name, and lineage. Now they will also be called by the titles they earned and the great deeds they performed. Yeah? Now, let's start with your legendary title. I'm just going to share a screen for this one because it's easier to show you than to talk about it. There we go. And this is determined by which of your virtues, which are the top two. So, and these are examples, but they are the tone of your title. So let me start with the order I can see you on the screen now, which is Iamon. Which are your two highest virtues? And if there's a tie, you get to choose. Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, I know. I was looking for the unmute button. The highest are passion and courage or passion and acumen. I get to decide. So let me see. Acumen and courage. I don't think one of these. Passion and no, it's acumen and passion, right? So
Okay.
Or courage and passion, and it's champion or guardian or slayer, and I think it's one of these, right?
Up to you. Does that work?
I think one of these might work, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Which one, or one in the same kind of tone?
I think it would be maybe something, yeah, champion is probably the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with champion.
Okay, you go with champion. Then Vecinda, which are your two highest virtues?
Ironically, grace and passion. And I think we know which one I'm going with.
Isn't that just scary? Isn't that just scary? So just for the benefit of our audience?
Oh, Peacemaker.
Indeed it is. That's really scary. Aethelflaed, what about you?
Courage and grace are what I've got, so I'm going to go with savior.
Fine. Savior of fate in many respects. And Blackwyn.
The hammer, which is courage and passion. And champion, guardian, slayer are all good, but you know it's too perfect, and it's just called Blackwyn, the hammer of fate, of the gods, of everything.
And there is, for those of you who will get the backstory of Blackwyn, some strange symmetry in that. Okay, and then finally, we need to talk about your greatest deed. Look over your lists of deeds and trophies and find one that is most meaningful to you. If there are a few that stand out, fine, blend them together. But let's go around again then to Iamon. Which deed or trophy, or which deed related to a trophy?
I mean, it's either denying fate or, but I think I'll go with the Shepherd of Warriors.
Shepherd of Warriors.
Yeah.
That's cool. Vecinda.
I think I'm going to combine the effigy and snarler of fate as imperfections in weaving are snarls. So I think it's just the I guess, you know, repurposer of fate.
Repurposer of fate.
Fate, okay.
Can I make that rewriter of fate?
Can you make it that fate changer?
Yeah, I like fate changer or
I'm trying to avoid repurposer just for the spirit of what our bard needs to say at the end.
Gotcha.
Okay. Aethelflaed, savior.
I think Rider of Thunderscale encapsulates one of my greatest deeds.
I think we all probably think that's true. Rider of Thunderscale. And finally, Blackwyn, the hammer.
The denier of death.
Denier of death. Okay. If there was this was a longer campaign, we might argue the toss about which gods are happy with what. But to be honest, we're in a relatively short run. So now I want to epilogue you out of this. Yeah. As you are leaving the village, where a more civilized argument between Colivus and Ludega, you're leaving that argument going, but it's not coming to blows. As you head out into the mists, following this shooting star that has led you through the other world, the mists begin to clear slightly, and you're on a hilltop, and there you can hear the drumbeat that drew you to the other world in the first place. Is there anyone who chooses not to follow the drumbeat? Okay. And if you follow the drumbeat, you will emerge in the aftermath of the battle where you and your warband were drawn from. And that battle will have ended with the triumph of whatever you consider to be right. But I would now be interested in giving each of you a chance to epilogue your life back from the other world as these legendary heroes. So let me go the other way, and I think start with Blackwyn.
I think that Blackwyn puts out his hand in front of him and looks down as the battle is over, and those strands of fate that we see reflected, the light catches it, and you see the face of a young woman, and as he looks, you know, the camera like goes into it, and it shows her like looking up from as a door opens, and then the next thing you see is Blackwyn walking through the door in front of the hearth, and perhaps, and I'll have to ask Blake if this is okay with this character, but Aedwyn is sat with a small family of her own in front of a fire as Blackwyn arrives. And
Fine. I think that's really that completes an entirely separate game arc for Blacwyn, Hammer of the Gods and Denier of Death. And that is the story. That is the way that Ventusius the Bard will tell the story of Blacwyn and how it will be passed down. That in the end, he found a warm hearth and family that replaced that which he had lost. Okay, let me go to Aethelflaed. How do we see you epilogued back in the real world?
Yeah, so I think she does, return to her people and eventually, assume leadership of this minor Mercian kingdom of Chenwolf, and here in this world, worms aren't such a common sight. So I think there's just rumors and legends swirling around her that when she is in great need, or when her people most require a miracle, a strange creature will descend from high above the skies and down from the mountains and lend aid. But she neither confirms nor denies these rumors and allows the legend to spread. And
a number of generations in the future, I think we will see the second Lady of Mercia unfurl a banner as she leads the Mercian warbands into battle, and it is that of a dragon, winged and flying in the wind as she charges down a hill to see off some Danes. Reference there to the last kingdom, where the first Lady of Mercia is, where the second Lady of Mercia, we now know, gets more of a name than she deserves compared to the very first Lady of Mercia. Let's move along to Vecinda. How do we want to epilogue Vecinda?
Vecinda returns home, and I like to imagine that there's it just looks like a flourishing, wonderful little town. And there's the leader, there's the chieftain or whatever, and everyone sort of pays deference, but in everyone's house there is a effigy that Vecinda has carved on their hearth, and everyone knows the real power behind the throne comes from is the peacekeeper that keeps everything from makes generations of just gentle life happen instead of just people going to war.
And I think perhaps that as Ventusius's tale of this passes down the generations, those of her people who have quarrels solve their quarrels with a game, and this game is played with pieces carved, and the key piece on either side is called the peacemaker, and that trumps all the other pieces, and so quarrels and feuds are solved without necessarily the solving of blood among her clans and tribes to come. Yeah. And finally, Iamon. How do we epilogue Iamon, monster hunter, Prince of Elmet, champion and shepherd of warriors?
Yeah, I think we see at the end, we see a hall. There has been fighting. It's been pretty clear. There might have been a siege, but this is the Hall of Elmet, and we can see the door is thrown open, and you see Iamon walk in. He looks a bit older. He looks definitely more scarred, more gray in his beard and hair, but he walks in, and assorted warriors, warbands. Maybe we can see someone who looks a little bit like Aethelflaed or Blacwyn or anybody who wants to be there, really. In the background, and he steps up and he walks towards the throne and he says, "Well, finally, that's done." And he turns towards the door. "My dear, your throne is ready."
And as that tale sees Queen Manugia of Elmet reascend the throne of Elmet, having seen off the Northumbrians for the time being at least. And as the tale of Ventusius is told, it becomes one in which the son of Iamon took on the kingship of Elmet. And though its name may have changed and though its status may have changed, there was always an independence in that part of England. And so I think we finish with our heroes. Thanks, folks. I had great fun with that one. That was a cracker. And I would like just to have a quick opportunity for stars. And wishes aren't appropriate, really. But, you know, would have been even better if, was there something that you think would have added to that? Anything at all? So let me start. I'll go similar route. Will, let's start with any stars.
Stars, you know, getting to wrap up both Iamon and Blacwyn, and I think it was a pretty satisfactory way. Getting really epic and then coming back down again, that was great. I mean, one of my stars is definitely Iamon taking on Prince of Elmet as an epithet. You know, Vecinda the Peacemaker, that is a great one as well. Like the game and the crafting, I love that ending. I mean, to me, a lot of this game feels like working our way towards that final thing, because the Otherworld is an abstraction, really, isn't it? Yeah, Aethelflaed's just taming a worm, for God's sake. And, you know, Alexei just coming in after we'd already done like the opening bit and just inserting perfectly into the whole thing.
Yeah, I'd endorse that. Let me go to Sabine. Any stars?
Yeah, lots of stars. I mean, to Vecinda for being not the traditional kind of hero, kind of epic hero, but and in the end it turned out that she was the peacemaker, and then it makes total sense. So yeah, and Aethelflaed for jumping in almost at the back of a worm. That was nice. I really liked having her. And what can I say about Blacwyn? That was really, really cool to see him find his family again. That's neat. And struggling with his fate, that was really epic. And I would have loved to protect him, but and then I think Iamon feels a bit bad, but wow.
The fate's decided. Sawyer, any stars?
No. Okay. Really, this is I love this final bit, like the use of the worm as like almost a Pokemon to get the shears, the different fates that could have been, should have been, would have been, just like that crafting of what's all that possibility was nice. How we all came together. Blacwyn just, you know, slapping fate around literally until it got locked onto his hand, and Iamon, and that just, I love the finality of that. Just kind of like how we all like had a place in Elmet if we wanted, kind of, and I like to imagine that the crown of Iamon's queen was crafted by Vecinda now.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And finally, Alexei.
Stars to everyone for welcoming me into this series, and big stars for this session, Alan, for the threats we had to face in the Cavern of Lost Dreams. That those were like real, like pull out all the stops threats for the final session, and I was very glad that we, you know, successfully defended against them, and that Vecinda and Blacwyn defended each other. That was a great moment, although, you know, it would have been quite epic in a more melancholic way if, you know, one of them had failed. I was totally on board, and loved the, you know, character development for Iamon. I feel like, you know, he got a lot of you know, we saw a lot of sides of him over the course of this series, and then we got, you know, a very epic ending for him by the epilogue. So many stars, Sabine, for that.
Anything that could have gone better, Will? I mean, I think we know what we think about some of the competitive rules, but I guess
yeah, I mean, I'm not that bothered about the competitiveness personally. I think that, you know, things that come better. I think if we grasped the pathos thing earlier on, we would be further across. I still don't understand how you get to that bottom one, given that the fate track would be full before you could fill up the entire first row of boons. So I don't know how you get to those lower boons at all. And
I think I forgot to give you a boon after
I see.
After the celebration.
Oh yeah, I think we did. I think we've forgotten to do one of those things. Yeah. Okay. It's
I think it's every 3 pleased gods, though.
I
see.
see.
Get a bonus. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the leader role really did. It doesn't seem to be actually that significant beyond other things. It seems a bit of a fuss.
No.
Again, the interpretation of stuff. It's like, it's cool, but in the last one, for example, like the broken tools never seem to be an option in any way, shape, or form. You know, and in it, like to redo a new tool kind of thing.
There is an option in the original island, and in my thinking about it, where you might have chosen to simply craft a new tool.
Yeah, it just feels like that would be one character in particular rather than a group thing,
yeah.
you know.
And I have to say, once you were drawn into the Hall of Fates, which is not a done deal, this took a particular route.
Yeah,
I have to say the better route.
yes, but I think generally that's been my problem with some of this is that, like, the obstacles that we get presented to us, and I don't, you know, in the way that the sort of the structure tells it to us is it's hard to actually, you're supposed to, that you define your objective and like what you want from it, and then you get the details that you actually need to work out what you want to do. Like in that, I was just like, I don't know, did he actually steal the shears, or is he just accused of it, or whatever, right? Who knows? And it's the shears of the gods, like, why does that mean that their village is falling apart? And then it makes sense as we go down, but it's like, oh, kind of, it's hard to know. I also find the DCs are kind of ridiculous sometimes, very swingy. The dice pool, like the highest that any of us ever rolled, I think, I rolled a 26 once. And then after that, I think the highest that we've rolled it beyond that is 20. But it feels as though, you know, you can just be stuck at not ever being able to overcome it, really, especially by the rules as written. Oh, and sorry, that was a lot of thorns, but in terms of a wish, I would just like to say that actually I'd like to just slightly rewind on that strand of fate. And the strand of fate that was wrapped around Blackwyn's hand was of Blackwyn dying defending Aedwin and his family, which was the fate that he always thought was taken from him by the gods, was defending his family and dying in the thing.
It's his thread. He can do what he likes with it.
Yeah, and this is why it's changed, you know, like that strange is now changed as he comes back into the mortal world too, retiring happily, a fate he never thought could happen. That's all.
Sabine, anything that you desire would have been better if?
I will echo Will's sentiment that I wish the dice thing had been less swingy, because having an 11 on the last encounter was a little bit anticlimactic in a way. I mean, it was nice, but it's still, also, I still would have liked to have a mechanism where you can look at your total and then say, oh, I want to throw in something else. But okay. Well, you didn't write the system, you ran it, and you ran it well. So I was happy to be here.
Yeah, there was a bit of, I'm trying to think of the last Rugby World Cup where actually the semi-final was the better game. I'd endorse that. Sawyer, anything?
Again, echoing, and I think that it would be nice if like there was some kind of boon or benefit, like for getting just like 1 or 2 off away from the target number. Like there was something more than just like, you know, you suffer, like maybe like you suffer less, or you can since you were so close, you can aid another person now instead, or like it counts as aid or a bond, or like something besides, you know, you're almost there, but eh.
Yeah, there's no, it reminds me, this, Sabine will recognize this, when we first played Operators, where the fate dice are crushingly brutal, and there's no way in the rules as written to post-roll say, but this is how I fail forward. Yeah, I absolutely endorse that. Alexi, any observations?
Yeah, the one thing was none of us took add another epithet, and I think that was partly because we were kind of getting into some of these boons in the last session at the point where we sort of, where the social contract had changed a little, and we were just all, you know, up for epithet to always count, but that made add another epithet not that useful, because the epithet is just another way of getting that same dice. So for me it worked out fine, because, you know, the changing of the epithet is also fun. So going from Lionhearted to Man-Tamer, that was cool. But I had earlier had my eye on adding Man-Tamer as an epithet, and then that stopped making any that stopped being mechanically rewarding to do.
Yeah, I think that probably my overall sense is I kind of like what the system's trying to do. I've really enjoyed the way that, particularly in sessions 2 and 3, you have got mythic in the way you've been approaching problems. That's been great. I want a system to do that, but I think the constraints of the gauntlet open table and the short series, I think would make this is a game that I think you need to devote a number more sessions to, so that you just begin to just feel your way into the characters, and there's time for all that stuff to matter. Yeah, in this case 3, even 4, I think we'd have been very constrained. That's what I'm feeling at the minute. Would I run it again? I might, but I'd probably sort of run it as what people are talking about, a gauntlet campaign where people would commit to a quarterly. Maybe.
Then they wouldn't get to be so profligate with the pathos, being like, "Yeah, I'm going to burn right through this thing."
Yeah. So there's swings and roundabouts, and again, until I tried it on a longer series, I don't know which way I'd jump on that. Anyway, look, I'm going to stop the recording. So wave bye to the internet.